Good morning, Americans. This is your favorite alien on Monday, April 22nd, 2024. Oh, goody, Earth Day. And today's commentary is going to be on Donald J. Trump's hush money trial. I'll name it My Thing. I guess that's what Trump refers to him as, My Thing. And if I were a juror on this trial, and I'm not either a pro-Trump or anti-Trump guy, I'm just doing this as an alien from another planet with a fresh outside point of view. If I were a juror on this trial, I would listen intently to the case. Even though I know a lot about Trump's past, I wouldn't put that as judgment. But when it would come down after all is said and done and the closing statements are done and we're in a deliberation room, I would tell the other juries, we have a problem, people. And the problem is because of the case itself. Trump he's right in this one case only. This case is a political motivated case. And this is what I would tell my other jurors. Is he guilty? Oh, you betcha. On every single count, 34, he's guilty. As a misdemeanor case, not as a federal felony case or a state felony case in this case. Mr. Bragg was overreaching here. There are precedents that make this a hung jury for me that I have to vote, and I would tell the judge, I have to vote not guilty with reservations, and explain to him what the reservations are. And there's a lot of reservations on this case, mostly by District Attorney Bragg. And that's not that I'm pro-Bragg or anti-Bragg. I'm not a pro-Trump or anti-Trump. He just tried to make a name for himself on this case, and it's backfired bad. Because on this case, there's going to be one juror that's going to say this exact same thing in different words. And the precedents that I'm going to cite here come from history. So the precedence is related to presidents. And here's number one, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. In 1914, when he was Secretary of the Navy, Mrs. Roosevelt found a letter that he wrote to his hanky-panky. It soured their relationship from 1914 till its death in 1941. You can check with people. They had separate bedrooms in the White House, people. Separate bedrooms. And their relationship was, as a marriage, terrible. As a partnership, good. Because she still stood by him politically. Poor Mrs. Roosevelt. Boy, did she give up a lot, didn't she? She is one of my favorite ladies that I always look at. If she can back Franklin Roosevelt, oh boy, she's got halo on her head as far as I'm concerned. Because of what Franklin Roosevelt did to her. Everybody doesn't understand this, but it's recorded in the White House. And the media at the time knew about it. They just hushed it. When he became president in 1932, he still had that lady from 1914 all the way around. When he got polio and he went down to Warm Springs, Georgia, well, she must have gone there too. And I'll get back to that one a little later here. But in December 7th, 1941, a date that will live from infamy, he made the first phone call, not to Eleanor Roosevelt, but to hanky-panky. She called him a lot during that day, but things got worse, and he couldn't answer the phone. And I commend him for not answering the phone. He had to worry about the United States business, and it was terrible that day. That doesn't excuse him. It just acknowledged that he finally did something right for a change. Okay? 1945, April 12th. Poor Mr. Roosevelt died of a brain hemorrhage in Warm Springs, Georgia. When the media and the United States White House people got there, who did they find there? Not Mrs. Roosevelt. She was in Washington, D.C. It was Mrs. Hanky Panky from 1914. See what I mean, people? Yeah. And then the next one is Warren G. Harding. Yeah. You think Trump is bad? This guy was, whoo. And everybody just remembers him from the Tip by Dome scandal. Oh, yes. But he had bigger scandals than that, and the media knew about it all the way back from 1890. He had this one lady that he paid, even while he was in the White House, he paid her to live a comfortable life. Then in 1891, he met this 18-year-old student, later became a teacher, and, well, her last name was Britton. And his first wife had died. He had married the second wife. Oh, yeah. Who was always Warren G. Harding, straight down the line, and she knew about Mrs. Britton. She knew about Mrs. X. So he actually had Stormy Daniels and Jennifer Flowers all in one. Boy. He never did have a Marla Maples, though. No. But then again, he had a daughter with Miss Britton. Born, what, 1918, 1919, somewhere around in there? Something like that. Anyway, but he never acknowledged her as his daughter. DNA, shortly before her death, proved that she was his daughter 100%. Yippee! When she died in 2015, it was Miss Britton, Warren G. Harding's daughter. Yeah. Boy, was he a hanky-panky guy. He must have had fun in his good old days over there in Ohio and Marion. Oh, yeah. I wonder what's in the library in Marion. Does he have Mrs. Britton's picture in there somewhere? I don't know. Anyway, but his life and the presidency and his death are all controversial. I mean, he died of a supposedly heart attack, but they haven't proven that. His wife and his so-called doctor, which looked to me like a Rasputin type of guy. Anyway, they were in hanky-panky with something, and they both died mysteriously a year later, 100 years ago in 1924. Woo.